I don't know how confident Rangers fans are in their overall top 4 compared to against New York, but with the way that Marino has came over from his Pittsburgh days, where last year might have been a bit of an off year, and him and Graves, I just look at New York, if healthy on the back end, Keandre Miller, Lindgren, Fox, and Trouba as a better top 4 than what they got. So that's just my opinion. You guys may disagree, but and then obviously the Mikkola pickup as that 5th, 6th type guy with some big size back there. I just lean towards them goaltending and defense wise. And when you look up front, I mean, we'll get to that in a little bit.
I also think that, and granted, like I said, there's a chance that they don't play each other in the first round. But if it does happen, for me, not only is it the goaltending, it's the fact that the Rangers, they went to the conference final last year. They've kind of been there. They're adding Patrick Kane at some point. The Devils, it's one of those things, you have these struggles, then you get in the first year, there's not a ton expected. You haven't been in the playoffs. All these guys, they don't really know the level it takes where you got to up your game. And the Rangers last year have been through it. And then adding a 3-time legendary cup winner like Kane, for me, I think the Rangers in that series, if they do play, will be minus 150.
That much?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
Wow. All righty.
Yeah, probably
no?
On the goal. Yeah, I'd say about that. I mean, just on the goaltending alone, you got to give the edge to Shesterkin. I know he's been struggling lately, but I think he'll be fine once the playoffs roll around.
But it is cool. It's cool for the Devils fans, and it's like it's been a long road, and all of a sudden this year that the expectations were higher, but they've completely exceeded even their own fans and what they thought they could do. So then to go out and get a game breaker, you feel happy for a fan base who had all that success in the 90s and early 2000s, and it's been a tough go lately. And now it's like, all right, not only are we in the mix here, but we're adding this guy. It's a cool thing for a fan base to get to experience that sort of excitement.
And we've alluded to it 6 times, but if this trade doesn't go down with Kane, talk about the biggest blue ball cock tease special in the history of the National Hockey League. Avery's going to be cruising around with a wheelbarrow carrying his balls if that trade doesn't go through. The whole playoff run.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
It's happening today, Tuesday. Well, I know when it drops. If it hasn't by the time the show is, it's going to happen on Tuesday.
So I keep Elliot Friedman's he's the guy. Marek's awesome. The 32 Thoughts and all the other insiders, they're kind of saying Wednesday. But in terms of like what's happening, I don't feel for Chicago, but you got to understand, this is exactly what happened with Claude Giroux last year. When Colorado really wanted him, he said, I'm going to Florida or I'm not going anywhere. And Patrick Kane has made it clear, I'm going to the Rangers. So it really kind of puts a bind in terms of what the Blackhawks can get back, which I think is going to be, unfortunately, not that much in terms of like a superstar Hall of Famer getting traded. Blackhawk fans are going to be like, what the fuck's going on? But when you have a team and you're able to kind of hold them hostage in a sense, of like, this is where I'm going, they really have nothing they can do besides get whatever the Rangers are willing to give up, because it's either lose them for nothing or get some sort of return, even though it may be really weak. So it's a position that Patrick Kane has afforded himself, Biz, but still it makes it tough on the Blackhawks.
Yeah, okay. I think you meant keep him for nothing, correct?
Sorry. Yeah, keep him and then lose him at UFA this summer.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right, do you want to tee it up? You basically broke this trade. You said 99% this is happening. I mean, you refused to take association with the Rumor Boys last podcast, and you stuck to your big J journalism.
He was on shrooms, though.
No, not that time. I love you boys, but my training was I was the newspaper nerd at school. I still have that in me, and no, I don't fake it. I mean, I'm a fucking weirdo. I got a lot of quirks, but I don't make stuff up. I don't lie, especially something like that. Source did tell me it's 99% done. Talked to him today. Said it's happening tomorrow. It's in the can. It's gonna go down tomorrow. Well, today, Tuesday. So yeah, it's gonna. By the close of business Tuesday, Patrick Kane should be a Ranger. I don't think I broke it. I know everyone knew what was happening, but I wouldn't fucking say I could have done it 9 million times with other trades. That ain't my style.
Well, all right. Let's start with you. What type of impact do you see Patrick Kane making on Broadway?
I mean, fuck. I don't know if he's enough to put him over the top, but I mean, he's Patrick Kane, man. I know he's a little bit older, hip bothering, but that's a huge pickup. I mean, I don't know where they're going to slot him in. Presumably with what's his name, the bread man there, Panarin, but that's a huge pickup for them. But plus with Tarasenko, still though, I don't know, man. I don't know that that's enough because everything gets tighter in the playoffs. Defense gets better. And I know I just said Shesterkin will be better in the playoffs, but I don't know if Rangers fans are shitting their pants a little about his play lately. But yeah, I don't know. They they don't scare me even if they get Kane, I guess.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
They don't scare you at all. Man, I think they got a hell of a hockey team. Now, I will say, in talking to a couple fans, I don't necessarily think right now the thought on Tarasenko so far has been anything that special. I don't know how well he's actually played since he came over. They had a huge win yesterday against LA, or Sunday, excuse me, but Kane is such a difference maker. And the fact that he had the slow start and he was battling the hip injury and he made it clear to people, like, this hip is not as bad as everyone's making it sound to be. But all right, now I really got to turn it on. I want to get traded. I want to figure it out. Dude, he's got 10 points in his last 4 games. He's on a run right now where you got to think he's feeling healthy. He's excited to get out of town. I know that sounds crazy. It's probably super emotional whenever this does go down. But you get Patrick Kane in MSG, and I'll say, I've said it before, I love playing in Montreal. There is nothing like the buzz of MSG. It's the pregame tunes. It's the lights. It's walking around Broadway and Manhattan and just showing up to the arena with all the action and all the atmosphere. And I think he's going to go there and light it up. I think he's going to be unbelievable, and I think the Rangers could win the Eastern Conference, no problem.
I mean,
that's coming from me.
I think that there might be still a debate on who is the best American-born player of all time. I think that Patrick Kane's a sick puppy, and he wants to be at the top of that. I think that this is going to be his Mona Lisa moment where he's going to go over and he's going to have sheer dominance come playoff time. And I'm scared for it. Obviously, with the little rift that we have going. I refused to ask him a question the other night, by the way, when we were on TNT. I'm staying firm on the clown and him coming against the rumor boards. All right, that wasn't a shot at you. That was a shot at us three.
No,
I know that you're really not in that category, but it's almost like how they used to say about Jordan, like late in his career during regular season games, he'd have to find a way to get himself going. It's almost like he was nixing the trade. Then Tarasenko got picked up where he was basically in control of it all, but then yet got pissed off. It's just like he needed something to motivate him, like the 11-year-old kid in the crowd maybe throwing a chirp at him where MJ's like, all right, motherfucker, I'm going to put up 50 tonight in Utah. With the guy with the Karl Malone jersey looking at him like, yeah, motherfucker, I'm going to light your ass up. And I feel like that's what we've seen over the last 4 or 5 games of him working himself up. Let's not kid ourselves. The first 40 games of the season, he looked completely disinterested in Chicago. There were even games as the trade deadline was coming too where not back checking, just lazy stick checks, where now all of a sudden he's leading that Chicago team to victory while him and Max Domi are pretty much the only two showing up. So I think that he's going to go over there, and I think he's going to solidify himself as the greatest American-born player of all time and help to take this team on a run.
I think he's going to take off there. I think he's going to be unbelievable.
I'm scared shitless of the New York Rangers right now. Wow. I think that they are going to be an absolute wagon. I put them just below Boston in the Eastern Conference. Now, with all that said, with those 2 trades that they've made and how much they've leveraged the future, that's a lot of fucking pressure on that team right now. So I'm interested to see if they can handle it. Last year, I felt like they surpassed expectations. Now the expectations are even higher than they were. Let's see if they can live up to them.
All right. When you mentioned that you're not really afraid of them, I know you're kind of saying that as a Bruins fan, but does that mean you would be picking the Devils to beat the Rangers in the first round?
Shit, I didn't think of that. I mean, I'd have to see the lines first, but
or did you only mean if the Bruins ended up facing off with them in the Eastern Conference Final, you'd be like, we're moving on to the cup?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not a disrespect to Kane. It's just they're a great team. I've given them their props, but I don't know. That doesn't, as a Bees fan or whatever. Yeah, I'm not sweating it, I guess is the way to put it. But speaking of the Rangers, in order to facilitate the presumed trade for Kane, they sent forward Vitaly Kravtsov to Vancouver for forward William Lockwood and Vancouver's 7th-round pick in the 26th. Now, the Rangers have been doing this crazy cap stuff. I don't know if you saw the game Sunday. They dressed Braden Schneider and Ryan Carpenter. They sat on the bench, but they didn't play because they couldn't send them down, but they didn't want them to get hurt because, they didn't want to fucking lose them. And the Carpenter got 13 seconds to play because he sat for Miller's penalty, which we'll get to in a second. So the Rangers have been doing all this fiddle-diddle just to get the cap right. And they thought they might be screwed after what we saw yesterday with Keandre Miller. He got a match penalty for spitting at Drew Doughty. It was kind of like, oh man, this guy's been such a good citizen on and off the ice. People were shocked by it. And he did meet with Doughty afterwards, and Doughty, I guess, was receptive to it. I guess it was a good conversation per Molly Walker from the New York Post. Miller does have a hearing with DOPS today, people are expecting a suspension because of precedent when what's his name?
Garrett Hathaway ended up doing it when he was in Washington.
Exactly. So people are expecting that there. So that was maybe going to affect the cap situation, and it still may, because the Rangers lost Ryan Lindgren on Saturday after TJ Oshie hit him. So the bottom line is the Rangers might be fielding 15 guys for a game, but I don't think it's really a big deal because they're kind of locked in that spot anyways. But what was your take on that incident with Miller? I mean, it was ugly to see, but I mean, if Doughty was okay.
I'm going to take it as him for his word, in that it was totally accidental. Now you watch it, it's like, how is that accidental? But for him to say it, and then from all accounts, and including Miller's statement that he released, Doughty was kind of receptive, as you mentioned, to like him telling him, that was not on purpose, that's not who I am. Quick little side story, my buddy Fairway Foles, everyone knows Foles the prankster. He's, I don't know if I've mentioned this, he spit in somebody's face in 3 different sports in high school. In football, he was at the bottom of a whatever they call that little scrum in football, spitting a kid's face. Spitting a kid's face in hockey in the winter season, and then in baseball in the ultimate spit in the face move. He hit a pop fly, and the first baseman was waiting to catch it. And as he rounded first, as the first baseman was looking up at the ball, he spit in his face. Maybe the 3 scummiest moves of all time, but Foles is a competitor. He'd do anything to win. But spitting in a man's face, I mean, in terms of like the most disrespectful thing you can do, I would say it's right there, maybe number 1. So for Miller to come out and immediately say he was so sorry and they didn't mean to, I'm going to believe him. I don't know. I don't think he'll get suspended, maybe a fine. He was kicked out of the game, but just a crazy move. Like, if you're going to spit in someone's face, you better be ready to throw hands. Now, the thing is, Foles will throw hands with anyone and pretty much dummy anyone I know, so he was willing and ready. Nobody would step up to the plate after getting a loogie shoved in their mouth by the Foles burglar. But I think that Miller was honest in his apology, and that I'm just going to take him for his word, right? If he says he didn't mean to do that, he didn't mean to do that. It's just kind of awkward timing to have him standing right in front of you and all of a sudden you spit at him. I don't know how that ends up working.
Yeah, the internet took it to a completely different place, but glad they got to chat afterward. One of those things that probably follows you around for a couple years, and it does suck regardless if there was an intention or not. Given the fact that they did speak, and then Doughty seems to believe that it was accidental, I wonder if they take that into consideration and talk amongst the Department of Player Safety. So if not, obviously I assume that he will get a game or 2. But if Doughty's okay, I think it should be on Doughty's call and say, hey, if he doesn't actually think it was on purpose, they should just kind of give him clearance. And I think that everybody handled it the appropriate way. It was
Hathaway suspended when he did it?
Oh, yeah. I think he straight up just, I think, did it on purpose. And as I said, that followed him around for a little bit. And I think since then he's cleaned up his act, depending on which fan base you ask. But, Ari, there was a couple things you mentioned there that we got to dissect. Also, them losing Lindgren.
Yeah.
And people were not happy about the TJ Oshie hit. I would say definitely hit him in a vulnerable spot. Sometimes at the pace of the game and when things are slowed down, he definitely came at him from the side, but by the time that he made contact, it looked like Lindgren had already been turning in. So the way that he went into the boards, probably a little bit too close. And I was not crazy about the hit, but definitely one of those borderline ones where I don't want to hang him on the cross for what he ended up doing. A very, very difficult loss if they end up losing Lindgren long term. This is a defenseman for the New York Rangers who blocks shots. He's a honey badger, plays way above his size. I know he's probably other than Fox, he's probably the smallest guy in the lineup that they have, but he plays way above it and is just a great leader in that locker room, and he's nails. I think if push came to shove, he wouldn't have a problem dropping him with most guys in the league. So a great top 4 that you can't afford to lose come playoff time. So let's hope that he's not on the shelf much longer.
Yeah, Gallant was very upset about the hit after, and if you remember, RA and G will know, I mean, Lindgren was kind of a toss-in when Rick Nash got traded to the Bruins that year. Nobody really expected that much, but what a player he's turned into, and you described him perfect, Biz. Kind of a heart and soul guy for the Rangers when I look at that team, especially looking at the run they went on last year. just playing through injuries, just battling anyone, so they cannot withstand to not have him. I have heard it's more of a day-to-day thing and they don't expect a long-term injury, but what a player he's turned into and what a big-time factor he can be for the Rangers, killing penalties and just playing good defensive hockey.